Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news where we review all the latest news involving our club, Manchester United. Lots to get involved with this morning. I didn't think we were going to be talking about Jadon Sancho, but there is an update about Jadon Sancho we'll be talking about, as well as Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafael Varane. Very interesting around Dalot. It's nice to get some stories around selling players. So Dalot as well as Brandon Williams and a few other things as well. But first of all, I want to do something that I think is really important. I don't know whether many of you are on Twitter, but there's a lad on Twitter. His Twitter account is @Kipster United, which is @KIPSTA United, UNITED. He's been in hospital for quite a while. He's had health conditions, which he's done such a brave job to keep his spirits up and keep updated with people. I was watching him at the start of the week doing like pack openings for the Euro sticker book. And look, it's really challenging, really challenging. It's not nice being in hospital, and he's in there and he's a United fan and he's keeping interacting with people. And there's something we can do back, which is just get on Twitter, give him a follow, get on his latest tweet and send some love. That's all I'm asking, because we can all do something nice in life, and it's a real opportunity to just go and be nice and give them a bit of support. Everybody needs some support, and we can't give everybody support, but what we can do is there is an opportunity there to go and give someone a little bit of support, a little bit of love, and he's doing I don't want to say he's doing a fantastic job, because he's not doing it. He doesn't want to be in hospital, of course he doesn't, but he's doing a fantastic job in keeping his head up, and it's hard, and this social media interaction is a real positive thing for him. So give him a follow, give him a bit of support. And as always, all the best, mate. So let's start off. I'm going to start off with the Sancho story. I don't want to dwell on Sancho too much, because really it's not much of an update, but it is coming from Jan Fjortoft, who... we've had Jan on the show in the past. I think in relation to German news, he's pretty decent. And he's saying that Manchester United are getting closer to signing Jadon Sancho. Now, that will get people excited. It's not going to happen before the Euros, so people will go, up yours, I'm not interested anymore till afterwards. But Jan Fjortoft does have good links in with the German football, and he's saying that a Jadon Sancho deal is getting closer. And I would just say that, on the eve of going into the Euros... we will sign Jadon Sancho. I'm still 90% sure that that's going to happen. That's not changed for me. I know I said I'd never resurrect 90% Club, but I did last weekend, and I still believe it will happen. I just didn't think it would happen before the Euros, but I still think it will happen. I think we're falling into the routine of United now. It's different to last summer, because there was always that fear that we couldn't afford it, and we couldn't afford it. We know the price. We know we can afford it. I think we're just falling into Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba territory now, where it's going to take 6, 7, 8 weeks to do. But I do think we'll do it. And one thing I would say before we move on is, when Jan Fjortoft says Manchester United and Jadon Sancho are getting closer, this is like me scoring a goal at Old Trafford. Am I like a metre away from an empty goal and I'm that close to scoring? Or have I got the ball in a dinghy and I'm just about to try and cross the Atlantic from from Florida, and I've got to get all the way across the Atlantic, rowing myself with the ball, and then walk all the way across the country to Manchester to kick the ball in the net? How close, we don't know. But I do think it will happen. And how long's a piece of string? Depends how long the piece of string is, isn't it? I don't know, because it's not real. But we will sign him. But how close we are? I mean, realistically, how close can you be? How close can you be? I mean, it's not. I don't think it can get announced during the Euros. So I think it will be July, new kit. There you go. Anyway, on from Sancho. Let's just bring a story in before we talk about Ronaldo and Varane. Let's just bring something a little bit different in, because I think we're all craving transfer news that's not, the Sancho saga, and not one we've heard of before. So let's just talk about Diego Dalot for a minute, because Manchester United, and Annie Bro says Sabitzer news. There's no Sabitzer news, Annie Bro. I wish there was some Sabitzer news. There was news about Sabitzer yesterday. RB Leipzig, Austrian midfielder. I think he's mid-20s, isn't he? Available for about £15 million. I mean, if you're buying Dan James from Swansea for £15 million, bloody buy Sabitzer. Now, I don't want to get into the Sabitzer debate. I always said he can play in the pivot. People said he's not a DM. I didn't say he was a DM. I said he can play in the pivot. And I think that Sabitzer is intelligent enough that he can play in that pivot easily. And I think he would be an asset for United. But we're not linked to him. He'll probably end up at Spurs. But one story that is coming out about Diego Dalot is that Manchester United and AC Milan are trying to agree a deal for Diego Dalot. Now, this is an important deal. Don't go, I don't want to talk about Dalot. Dalot. This is important because Dalot can generate revenue for this summer. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Dalot money, and this is the problem we're going to have this summer. We can all talk about signing players, but we know we've got to sell players. Well, it looks like Dalot is not going to be one of those players that's going to add to the transfer fund. We believe United have got around 100 million to spend, and the rest of it they're going to have to generate through sales. Well, Dalot was always a player that we thought 15 million, Lingard maybe 20, one of the goalkeepers 40. That generates another 70 million, doesn't it? Forget the Dalot money. And what if Lingard stays? Forget the Lingard money. What if we don't sell a goalkeeper? Forget that money. Suddenly you've got no extra money. So this is the concern, isn't it? If we're not going to sell players this summer, how are we going to buy players? Because we haven't got 200 million to just go and buy a centre-back, a CDM and a right winger. We've got to sell players to do it. And it doesn't look like Dalot is going to be part of that fee. If Chelsea gets Haaland, will Dortmund sell Sancho, says 73. I've spoken about that before, and yes, I do. I do think that Dortmund will sell Sancho regardless, because at the end of the day, they have a gentleman's agreement with Sancho that he can go for the right price. So if we reach the price, he can go. And look, at the end of the day, if Dortmund, why would they say we've sold Haaland so we're not selling Sancho? Sancho doesn't want to be there anymore. And ultimately, they'll get 200 million for the two combined, and they can just spend that on other players. So Dortmund will sell both. I'm not sure they'll sell Haaland anyway, but I think they'll definitely sell Sancho. But yeah, on Dalot, the story with Dalot is that AC Milan want Dalot on a deal which is worth about £13 million, but it's a loan deal with an option to buy next summer. United have said no, they want it to be a loan deal with an obligation to buy. So that would be an obligation to buy in a year's time, which doesn't help us now. 13 million's not coming in now. So that, to me, is not good news, because Dalot going on loan for a year with an option, even if we are going to sell him in a year, I mean, it's a terrible deal. It's a terrible deal to let someone go and loan with an option to buy, because that means in a year's time they might send him back. We need an obligation to buy, but he's been on loan for a year anyway. Dalot needs to go. Now, some people would say Dalot doesn't need to go at all because they like him, but Ollie doesn't rate Dalot. So we need to get the money in. We need the money now to buy other players. So it's not looking positive on Dalot. I'm hoping we can move away from Milan and maybe find him another move because look, 14 million for Dalot is a good deal for somebody. That's a very good deal. That's cheaper than Dan James for a lad who still plays for the under-21s for Portugal. So there's a good deal to be done for somebody there. Cut the Sancho hype. Sancho is last summer's signing, says Anil. Also, just while we're on that, Brandon Williams has been linked with a loan to Southampton again. This should have happened last year, so hopefully it will happen. I think Brandon Williams does need to get a loan. Zed Jamie says, not only have Liverpool signed Konate, they've already identified a Wijnaldum replacement in Pellegrini from Roma, says Zed Jamie. Look, Zed Jamie, I would love to compare Manchester United's transfer policy to that of a Chelsea or a Liverpool or even a Manchester City, but reality is our transfer, I know I've said before that I think Romu and Ward-Prowse are a better midfield pivot than McTominay and Fred, and I do believe that, and I think there's a lot of better midfield pivots than McTominay and Fred. But where would you rank United's transfer policy in relation to our success? Because we are Manchester United, we've got a fantastic fan base, we're a massive club, we're one of the biggest clubs in the world. But as a football team, we're a fake. We don't the team that we put out doesn't really represent what Manchester United are as in relation to size. Some would say our manager doesn't. Some would say, quite rightly, our board doesn't. But our transfer policy is not that of a club that befits Manchester United. I think our transfer policy, I think Everton are better. I think Villa are better. I don't know where I would rank United in relation to our transfer policy, but we're not a top six club when it comes to transfers. We're slow, we're lethargic, and that's we're not ruthless, we're lazy actually in the transfer market. So, yeah, down there with West Brom, says Prattam. This Ronaldo come Manchester United, says Hanil. Right, let me talk to you about Ronaldo then. So this is quite a good update on Ronaldo. I know there's been a lot of talk about Ronaldo leaving and where he would end up. In fact, it was last night I was talking with Jordan on the show about how Ronaldo, there was an agent from Italy saying that Ronaldo, if he leaves Juventus, and that's highly likely, probably can only go to PSG or Manchester United because they can't afford him in Spain, they can't afford him in Germany. If he comes to England, he wouldn't go to any other club other than United. And therefore it's PSG or United, which is probably true. I think there's two destinations for Ronaldo. It's PSG or United. Doesn't mean we're a likely one, but interestingly enough, everyone talks about, and Annie says he's off to PSG blood. All right, blood. Not in the upper half for sure, says Rishab in relation to United's transfer policy. But Di Marzio, you might remember Di Marzio from transfer windows such as 2017 and 2018, because that's when Di Marzio was the don of the... it was before the days of Romano, although I saw last night Romano's getting a lot of stick, isn't he? Which is, I don't get involved in any of that. I like Romano, I think he's very good, but he's getting a lot of stick from other journalists last night. I don't know whether anyone saw that, but... yeah, Di Marzio is definitely somebody that was fantastic. The summer that we got Pogba and Mkhitaryan and Zlatan, he nailed it. And I think Romano used to work with Di Marzio. I don't know whether they work together anymore. So Di Marzio is, he's a good journalist. I think Di Marzio's probably fallen into the path of any other journalist now, where Romano gets a lot right and Di Marzio got a lot right, whereas now I think he's more like any other journalist who's good. They get some things right, they get some things wrong. But what Di Marzio has said about Ronaldo, and this came out last night, is that Ronaldo wants out of Juventus and he's looking for another challenge. So it's looking increasingly like Cristiano Ronaldo will leave Juventus this summer. I think Juventus want to move him on because he's very expensive for them. And I think Ronaldo wants another challenge. So where that challenge is going to be, look, we are mentioned. We are mentioned, of course. And look, I'm not going to go over old ground. It's a news show. This is a news show this morning, and Di Marzio has said that. We spoke about it on last night's show about what we think about Ronaldo. Let's just keep an eye on it because... generally, a lot of people are saying it's PSG or United. I would say that PSG would want Ronaldo, but they would have to probably lose Mbappe or someone like that. But Mark, you're a legend. Are you worried as Haaland isn't going to the Euros, Chelsea could get him done and then Dortmund won't sell both him and Sancho, says Callum Warnock. Repeating myself a little bit, UK gold, but I do not have a concern about about Haaland leaving Dortmund. I just don't... I think the situations are very different. I think if Sancho and Haaland had 3 years left on their deal and Dortmund didn't want to sell either of them, but they'll only sell one of them, then of course I'd be worried. But this is a situation where Haaland will leave in a year because of a release clause of 70 million. They'll only sell him this summer if they double their money on that. So Chelsea would have to pay 140 million for him. And I think if Dortmund got 140 million for Haaland, they would do it because it's double what they're going to get next year. I don't think it's anything to do with Sancho. I think they'd like to keep Sancho, but Sancho's very separate to Haaland. If Haaland goes, they're going to do it. They're going to let him go because it's a ridiculous offer. And I think the Haaland deal is that old adage, everyone's got a price. And I think Dortmund will sell Haaland if they get a ridiculous offer from Chelsea. With United and Sancho, he's got 2 years left on his deal. In a year's time, Sancho will be worth 40 million because he'll have 1 year left on his deal. Also, Sancho doesn't want to be there anymore and there's a gentleman's agreement. So if the £80 million is offered, Sancho will go. So I'm not worried about that. I understand why people might be worried about it. Oh, Dortmund won't sell Haaland and Sancho. I don't think they want to sell both, but they will. They will if the right price comes in for Sancho, they'll honour the gentleman's agreement of 80 million. And if somebody offers ridiculous money for Haaland, they'll do it. So there you go. I want Conte more than Sancho, says Ronan. Well, just on Conte, I mean, look, I'm not here to talk about managers, but it's quite interesting, isn't it, that Zidane and Conte could both be not in jobs at the start of next season. So I think some people quite like that. They liked it with Pochettino, didn't they? Where there's this situation whereby, if you're not sure about Oli, there is another manager waiting. I mean, it puts a bit of pressure on Oli, but he rode the pressure of Pochettino. I'm sure he can ride the pressure of Zidane and Conte. But I suppose in a way, look, I don't want Oli to fail. I had people going on at me yesterday. Oh, you're Oli in this, that, and the other. I don't describe myself as. The season's over. For me, it's about what happens in the wider club now. I'm focused on what the Glazers are going to do, and I'm focused on the transfer market. The manager, for me, becomes sort of an irrelevant argument until the season starts again, and that's when I'll analyse Oli, because I think next season, if we play the same crap football with no tactics, same defensive issues, no substitutions, favouritism, he ain't going to last long, is he? So in that sense. Look, if you're saying to me, do I support Oli for next season? Yes, I do. Am I Oli out? No, I'm not. But if you are Oli out, great. You've got enough evidence to be in that situation. But if you're saying to me that, would I like Zidane and Conte to be free next season in case Oli fails? Of course. Because what if you don't want to be in that situation where Oli fails and then there's nobody. So of course, I'd love to think that if Ollie did fail, and I don't want him to fail, that there's a Conte or a Zidane waiting. Of course, that's great. I mean, it was always nice last year with Pochettino, but hopefully we get a good transfer window and we take a next step and we do progress. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, to me, my optimism for next season is not there until we see what happens in the transfer window. Imagine singing Viva Ronaldo again in a packed out Old Trafford. Those were the happy times, says John Only. And that gives me goosebumps. It really does. I mean, I said this to Jordan, didn't I, last night? Just on Ronaldo before we move on to some other news. Anybody who's doubting Ronaldo, the Euros kick off tomorrow. He's playing in a very hard group in a decent Portuguese side as the number 9. Let's have a look how finished Ronaldo is, because I don't think he's finished at all. I think Ronaldo at United, and look, you talk about people like Harry Maguire being a leader and that's why he's on the sideline when he's got an ankle injury. I don't dispute that. You talk about giving Juan Mata another 140 grand a week to be in the dressing room. Cristiano Ronaldo will be in the dressing room and on the pitch as a leader. So I would like Ronaldo. I don't know how you'd work Cavani and Ronaldo into the same team. I don't think it will happen, but I do think he's going to leave Juventus, so let's wait and see. We want Ronaldo to come home to Manchester United, says Red Pro 7. And I must just say, I'm very, very excited about the Euros. I hope you all are as well. In fact, I'm doing a Euros preview this afternoon at 3:30 on the Mark Goldbridge That's Football channel, so make sure you tune in for that. Mark Goldbridge That's Football, give us a subscribe and tune in for that. Got some special guests on there as well over the Euros and today. Mark, we won't sign Ronaldo or Varane, only Winksy and Mingsy under Kaneki, says Sachin. Nice lead into my next point. So Spanish journalists are talking about Varane. There is a belief, and Van Cam Kev will be on the preview this afternoon as well. He says Ronaldo would improve us. Imagine the impact he'd have on our younger players. And I think Kev's spot on there. Not only because Kev's going to be on the preview later, and I want to sort of promote the fact that Kev's going to be on the preview later on That's Football, but also because Kev and Jay are doing the Holland game no, not the Holland game. They're doing Belgium game at 8 o'clock on Saturday night on That's Football. You can watch them there. But also because I agree with Kev on that. I do think, and I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I do think that what we've seen with Cavani is that the right experienced player can bring a lot to that team. Now, we were bottling semi-finals, 5 of them. 4 of them we bottled. The 5th one we got to the final. Now we've bottled a final. What that shows to me is that this team still hasn't got the right mentality. Now, what we saw in Rome when we were in the semi-final is that we were going to bottle that semi-final. Why didn't we bottle that semi-final? Because De Gea was immense, and also Bruno and Cavani had a good game. That says to me, David De Gea, Bruno, Cavani, they're leaders. We need a few more, and I think Ronaldo would bring you that. And whether it's Ronaldo or not, maybe it's a Varane, maybe it's a Koulibaly. We do need a few experienced heads in that team, which is why I think Varane would be perfect. 3 times Champions League winner, La Liga winner, World Cup winner, maybe Euros winner by the time, this time next month. Not quite this time next month, because the final is on the 11th, isn't it? Or the 12th. But with Varane, Spanish journalists are saying that Varane will not be signing a new contract at Real Madrid as things stand, and his price will be set at 50 million euros, which is about, in today's rate, somewhere between 40 and 43 million, I believe, which is, with a year left on his deal, Varane around 40 million, I think that's a good deal. But what they're also saying is that Manchester United do want Varane, but their second choice is Pau Torres, who's seen as a cheaper option, but is also not going to decide his future till after the Euros. And the feeling with Varane is that he wants to stay in Spain, possibly going to Real Madrid or Barcelona. So Torres, sorry, not Varane. So it's interesting there with the centre-back situation. I think that we all know that United want a centre-back. What we don't know, and I can't tell you, and I don't believe anybody can tell you, is because I don't think United know yet, and I think that's 100% clear. United don't know what centre-back they want yet because they're waiting to see what's happening with Varane. And I think United want Varane, and maybe they've got, it's a bit like throwing a dart at a dartboard. You've got to throw a bullseye with that first dart. It can be done, but it's difficult. Especially when United are throwing the dartboard. You may as well get Stevie Wonder to throw the dart. But they want Varane, and if they don't get Varane, they're going to move down their list. They could move down the list as far as Ben White, which is worrying, of course. But I think that the centre back situation will clearly be something that happens in the next sort of well, after the Euros, to be fair. After the Euros, we'll know more about that. And I think that's what will happen. Somebody just said there's breaking news on Jadon Sancho. We broke that news at the start of the stream. It's coming from Jan Argefjortoft, and he's saying that Jadon Sancho and Manchester United are getting closer. As I said, you can measure how close something is when you know how long that piece of string is. And I think that the reality is, as I said, how close is it? You know, oh, it's close, but it could be this close. It could be this close. It could be that close. You know, how close is it? We don't know. My prediction, and this is only a prediction. I've not been told anything here. My prediction here is that this deal could be announced during the Euros in relation to Jadon Sancho will be joining Manchester United pending a medical after the Euros. That can happen any time. That could happen at the weekend. That could happen next week. But I would bet, I'm not going to bet actually, I would say with strong conviction that United we will sign Sancho, but the first time we'll see him is with a team viewer nice kit for you to buy. That is what I've always thought, because it makes sense from Glazer's point of view and team viewers' point of view that the first time we see Sancho is when he's holding up a team viewer shirt, which means that won't happen until mid-July. Mark, I think there's a strong possibility of United moving for Ben White. Varane's transfer fee plus wages will be a problem, apparently. Also, remember reports on Maguire wanted an English-speaking centre-back, says Amy. Well, I've said that before. You know, if we were to buy Ben White and we went from Henderson, Wan-Bissaka, White, Maguire, Shaw, I'm sorry, I'm English, but there ain't no English back five winning anything major. I mean, that I know people joke about Ollie being a bit Brexit FC, whatever. And if you want to play for Ollie, you need a British passport. But that would be ridiculous. An all English. I mean, when was the last time an all English back five won a title? I mean, you must be going back to Arsenal days with the likes of Adams and Dixon and Winterburn and Seaman and Steve Bold or Martin Keown. I can't, you know. And that was a very long time ago. So I don't want to see that. And also, look, are Brighton going to give you Ben White for 20 million? If they're going to give you Ben White for 20 million, I still think it's a bad move, but you can sort of see it as a cheap move. They're going to want 40 million. Well, you're going to spend 40 million on Torres. You're going to spend 40 million on Rafael Varane. Yeah, the wages are going to be more, but if you clear Mata out and you clear Matic out, that's nearly 300 grand a week in wages. So you can cover Varane's wages just by removing Mata and Matic, who, to be honest with you, we're not going to miss. I don't think we even need to replace Matic and Mata hugely. Because they don't play anyway. Yeah, we do need a CDM, but we don't use Matic. So let Matic and Mata go, spend the same transfer fee that you'd spend on White for Varane or Torres, and then use Mata and Matic's wages to take on the more expensive wages. Hi Mark, your top 4 targets for CDM other than Rice. Can't see McFred playing CDM without any creativity. If it happens, I would be also Ollie out, says United Voice. And Christian Romero is a very good centre-back who we are apparently only appreciative of. Really such a shame if he turns out to be another Ruben Diaz, says Anurag. I think in relation to Christian Romero, we do continually keep getting linked to him. My opinion on this, and I think United Muppeteers have said this and a few others as well, so they've probably heard similar things, is that and Romano has said it as well. In relation to Christian Romero, this is not true. United's interest in him is not solidified. It is basically it's journalistic diarrhea. It's loose. It's not real. So I'd be very surprised if that ever developed into anything. It feels to me like we are being linked to that player for another reason, and I don't really know what it is, because my understanding is that he's going from Juventus to Atalanta, so it's not like he's looking for a move. I don't get that. Maybe it's because we dealt with Atalanta for Diallo. I don't know, but I think we're being used for different reasons in relation to that. King Royal Media says saying Ollie in is equal to Glazers in. Both are not good enough. I'm starting to feel like Ollie in respect Ollie more than the badge. They're a match made in heaven who only consistently disappoints us. Look, you know what? I love the fact that people have different opinion, and we've been doing this for 5-6 years now, and I don't think we've ever had a show where everybody agrees with everything, because that's not the way it's meant to be. And I also get that football is a passion. You know, for some people, football is the be all and end all, and you know, for most of my life, football's been massive, and it will always be that. But you cannot say if you are supportive of Ollie, you're supportive of the Glazers. That's ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. The Glazers, in a very short summary, are not football fans. They're business people. They bought us on debt, and they've run us like a business for 16 years. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a player that spent most of his career at Manchester United, scored many important goals for us, has come back as an interim manager when not many other people would have done that, and then has been given a job that many fans sang for him to get. And, you know, I know some of these Ollie outers who were there jumping around singing Ollie's at the wheel. So, you know, of course those people have got a right to change their minds because, you know, football more than anything is an area where you can change your mind. But to start comparing people who support Ollie to the Glazers is just childish at the end of the day. Like, if you're Ollie out, people respect you for that. They might disagree with you, but they respect you. And you've definitely got enough evidence as to why you can be Ollie out. And I've always said that. There is enough evidence to be there. I'm not telling you you're wrong, but don't tell me I'm wrong for saying, look, we finished second in the league. I don't see how you can sack a manager based on where we are. Most of the players really like him. We're second in the league. We're going into an important transfer window. Would I, if I was in charge, change it? Possibly. But I'm not in charge. I live in the real world and we're not changing anything until next season. And that's going to be the acid test. If we are doing things like conceding goals from set pieces, playing poor football, picking McFred in the midfield because we haven't bought a midfielder, not getting anywhere near a title again, and not really progressing, then I think Solskjaer's got to go. Whether that'll happen, because people will say, well, you can't just say you're Ollie in because the board won't sack him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, me right now, I'm not going to say Ollie out because I'm not Ollie out. But I might say it next year because what I know with this board is if you finish fourth, you won't get the sack. The evidence is there with Moyes, Mourinho and Van Gaal. When you don't get top four, you get the sack. Van Gaal won an FA Cup, didn't get top four, got the sack. So if you don't get top four, you don't get the sack. If you don't get top four, you get the sack. But next season, if we're doing them things I've just listed there and we finish third or fourth, I would still say sack Solskjaer. 3 years in and we're not really progressing from being a team that's fighting for third and fourth. I would say that's, you know, you've had long enough now because I think 3 and a bit years at Man United, you know, I would expect a trophy. I would expect better progression than just fighting for fourth. But where we are now, not for me. But you know, of course, I understand why people are like that. But I also think it's a bit wasted energy on that. I think most people's energy now should be focused on what we're going to do in this transfer window and really doing what we were doing a month ago, which is ramping up the pressure on the owners to actually deliver. Because that's going to be a big part of next season. Would you take White at CDM if it meant getting Varane? Why? Why, Duncan? Why do I have a hypothetical Ben White at CDM? He's not a CDM. So, you know, I don't get that. I don't understand that. Lots of people saying it doesn't mean Ollie's good enough. Mate, I don't have the answer on whether Ollie's good enough. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you to be Ollie in because that's not my I won't do that. That's for you to make your mind up. I firmly believe that people should have their own opinions. Rafael Varane will be sold by Real Madrid this summer. Manchester United and Chelsea have come forward with their offers, and Real Madrid hope to get around 60 million euros from his sale. That's coming from El Chiringuito TV and a journalist called Joseph Pedral, who's got 1.3 million followers via Sport Witness. Again, look, we can all get excited about that. We're talking about Varane, obviously, but again, you know, I do understand what people are. I think people are getting frustrated by the pace of this transfer window. But unfortunately, Varane is not signing for Manchester United in the next 2 days. He's not. He's part of the French squad. Deschamps is very, very strict about that French squad. We're not going to be with Varane holding up a training shirt before the middle of July at the earliest. Look, what I would like to say, this transfer window could still be a success. We're not going to have a player holding up any shirts before the middle of July because most of them are playing in the Euros. But if by the 20th of July, you've got Sancho holding up a shirt, Varane holding up a shirt, Trippier holding up a shirt, and a CDM holding up a shirt, happy days. If we get all the work done now over the next 6 weeks so that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, fantastic. But we're not going to get anybody deal done until middle of July now, and I think we all know that. You know, it's Thursday morning. Some of you will be watching it Thursday lunchtime. Some might be watching it Thursday tea time. But the Euros kicks off tomorrow. We're not going to get people holding up shirts anymore. Please smash a like on the video, by the way. Madder Patar, thank you very much for the super chat there. Did we discuss about what Andy Mitten posted on Twitter about Joel Glazer? He said that we're here to compete for trophies, says Pratik. I presume you're talking about what Joel Glazer said in the fan forum last week, which to me is just words. Actions speak louder than words. Look, the Glazers are very apologetic because they got caught on the European Super League. They've been making a lot of money for 16 years. It got very uncomfortable over the last 6 weeks, and they realised that they're going to have to make changes to get the fans not protesting. But they will make those changes in the cheapest way possible. It will be done in what you call like a brand strategy, because what they will do is they'll buy Sancho and they'll see, are we going to get protests again? No, right, that's it. Oh, Sancho's not enough. Get a centre-back. Are we going to get protests again? Probably. All right, get him CDM. They're going to do it. They're going to do things in stages to get to a point where those protests stop. They're not going to go, right, give up half the club, get a CDM, centre-back, right winger, build the stadium again. They're not going to do all those things. They're going to do it step by step to see and gauge the opinion. Remember that story that came out about Ollie back in October after we lost to Istanbul and we had the Everton game on the Saturday, and on the Thursday Luckhurst from Manchester Evening News came out with about talks with Pochettino from the club, which I believe were true. I believe Luckhurst on that. And a lot of people were going, get rid of Ollie, and then we beat Everton, and then we never lost in the league again until January. And you know, he rode that storm. But that was just before an international break, I think. And a lot of people were like, get rid of Ollie and get Poch in. That was about, I'm convinced that story was true. I'm convinced that United did speak to Pochettino, and I'm convinced that story came out to gauge the public opinion, i.e. the Man United fan opinion. I think that story came out because the owners of United wanted to see if they sacked Ollie then and brought Pochettino in, was there going to be a backlash? Because I think there are times where if Ollie got sacked, there would be a backlash. And I think they did that to see what would happen. And I think at that time, it was probably 50-50. 50% were like, let's get Poch, and 50% was like, no, it's not fair on Ollie. So I think this club are very aware. They're businessmen. They're very aware about doing things in stages. Okay, let's get Sancho when the team viewer shirt comes out, because that makes the team viewer happy. It makes us money selling shirts, and it makes the fans happy with Sancho. Do we need to buy anybody else, or is that going to be enough to stop the protests when the season starts? And I think that's what's going to happen this summer. Mark, I don't think we'll get Varane or Sancho. Dortmund don't respect us enough and we aren't competent enough to do it. Varane will go to Chelsea. Higher chance of success than United with our board, says AJ Singh. Well, the fact that Chelsea are linked to Varane, and I've always said that Varane will go to Chelsea, remember. So, you know, that doesn't... United in a race with Chelsea worry. I mean, to be honest, United in a race with Fulham worries me, but United in a transfer race with Chelsea, I mean, it's basically like Lewis Hamilton and me, and he's in his Formula 1 car and I'm on a go-kart that I've got a pedal. You know, there's no race, is there? You know, United and Chelsea in a race for Varane is effectively substitute United and Chelsea in a transfer race for Varane and picture Chelsea, Lewis Hamilton in a Formula 1 car in Chelsea colours, and me in a red go-kart that I've built myself with hammers and wood and wheels off a pram, trying to race him 100 metres. That's basically the Varane transfer race. We can't win that race. Hi Mark, what's the update on Ollie's contract? Haven't heard anything about for a while, says Uzar. I think that with Ollie's contract, it's about timing. I think if we'd won the Europa League, and again, this is why, you know, most businesses are like this. It's about timing. It's about perception. I think if United had won the Europa League, his contract we would be aware of by now, because people would say, well, you can't argue with that, he's won a trophy. I think because he didn't win the trophy, and because people are a bit, you know, sceptical again, they're going to time the new contract news. I don't know where. They'll either bury it in the Euros when people are only interested in the Euros, or they'll do it around the time that Sancho gets a new deal, Sancho signs. They will bury it in positivity, or they'll bury it in a time where people are focused on something else. Armin says, Mark Romano said the centre-back budget will depend upon how much we spend on Sancho. If we spend around 80 million, how much realistically will we have for a centre-back? And if we don't sell players, will we even get a centre-back, Armin? I think you might hit on something there, Armin, because I think this is why we're not looking at a midfielder. Do you still remember when Ollie wanted Sean Longstaffy, says Julian? I mean, mate, you know what? I don't still remember it. I do remember it now because you reminded me of it. But that Longstaff story, was it 3 years ago? We really did want Longstaff. It was 100% true. We really wanted to get Longstaff from Newcastle. Where is he now? I mean, to be fair, would Ollie still be in a job? We were looking to spend like 25 million on him. And I think, thankfully, Newcastle wanted 40 million. They take 40p now. He doesn't even play. But United scouted Longstaff and wanted him. And, you know, it's just... I just don't get it. But you know what? I've never seen enough of Sean Longstaff to understand what he was about. But somebody said it about 6 months ago. Do you not think there are similarities between Sean Longstaff and Scott McTominay? And does that not show you that Ollie wants this tall player in the midfield? And I think the reason he wants a tall player in there is because I think he's a bit obsessed with height. You know, like long balls and stuff. So, you know, maybe that was what all that was about. Problem for Ollie is that everyone around him is learning on the job. He needs experienced people around him so that mistakes can be rectified to an extent, says Anand. Yeah, there's a lot of inexperience around Ollie. White played CDM 8 times this year, did well, like Rice, says Duncan. There you go. There you go. Top proven managers we missed out on due to fans being emotionally attached to a serial loser, says Andre. Allegri, Tuchel, Zidane, Ancelotti. And more deadwood than an OAP's brothel. I had to read that one, Woom, but I've read it. It's good. More deadwood than an OAP's brothel. I like it. I like it. Build put for Sancho now. Okay, let's have a look. What's this all about? Folk. Okay, let's have a look. Manchester United have submitted their first official offer to Borussia Dortmund for Jadon Sancho. That's coming from Bild. Breaking news. So Dortmund have set another target for us to sign. Okay. Our story. So this is from Christian Falk. Who I like Christian Falk. He's been on the channel. Our story, there have been first negotiations between Dortmund and Manchester United for a transfer of Sancho, but the first intended sum of money from United is too low, like 2020. Okay. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see if Romano comes back with anything about that. But effectively, Christian Falk, who is part of Sport Build and Build Sport, is saying that there's been first negotiations between Dortmund and Manchester United for a transfer of Sancho, but the first intended sum of money from United is too low again. So, let's have a quick look. So yeah, this is not via any Sport Witness or anything like that. This is actually on Christian Falk's Twitter feed. There has been first negotiations between Dortmund and United for Sancho, but the first intended sum of money from United is too low again. It'd be nice if he told us what that fee was. Concrete negotiations between Dortmund and United have started, but Man United still doesn't offer enough. So I don't know whether anybody's got any idea about what we might have offered. I'm sure that's going to come out very, very soon. I would imagine that we've probably offered something like 60 million plus add-ons or something like that, because they want 80 million and I think they want 80 million outright. We certainly won't have offered 80 million. Ian just said there 50 million. We will have offered 60 million, something like that. Which is silly. But it also flies in the wind of these people who say that United don't put a bid in until they know it's going to get accepted, which I do agree with it, but I don't think it's a set rule. I don't think that United never put bids in and they don't get it. They don't not get accepted. So I'm not massively convinced about that. Pack of jelly babies, Marks has said, Jamie. But yeah, no, I think it will be around sort of 60 million plus add-ons that we've offered, and I think Dortmund will say we want 80 million outright, which, look, if United can get him for 60 plus 20, great. If they want 80 million, his price is 80 million. I think that's fair. If we can, but maybe we offer 75. But I don't moan at United for that, because you can't moan one way or the other. I think people will moan and say, "Oh, United, they're crap at negotiations," and I do agree with that. But imagine if you did get Sancho for 60 plus 20. 20 you pay next year, but you used Deleu's money next year for the 20. You spent 60 this year. You've only spent 60 this year. You've got another 40 to spend on a centre-back. So, because we believe our budget's around 100 million. So if you spend 60 on Sancho this summer and you've got 40 for a centre-back, problem solved. If you spend 80 this summer, you've only got 20 for a centre-back. So I understand why United might put that offer in. The problem is Dortmund are not. Historically and now, they're not mugs. if they're going to sell Haaland, it's going to take a ridiculous amount of money. If they're going to sell Sancho, they want 80 million. They don't piss about. Look how much they got for Usman Dembélé. They got like 135 million. So they're not going to mess about on this deal. They're not going to mess about on this deal. And I think that, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. But the fact that the only thing we need to be careful about is if somebody else comes in. If a Chelsea swoops in or a Liverpool swoops in and says there's 80 million. That's what United have got to be careful about. It's all right negotiating. It's all right taking your time on a deal. It's all right trying to drive the price down. But ultimately, it's probably flawed. Because Dortmund like to live a transfer publicly. We saw that last year and we'll see it again this year. Dortmund like to live a transfer publicly. They like to go public to their fans and say, look, if a certain price is set, we'll sell him, but we're not going to get done over. And they won't get done over. So maybe there is a naivety with United there. If the price is 80 million and they want 80 million, you either pay the 80 million or you walk away. I don't think you can start saying we'll give you 79.5 million and a bag of sweets. They're not going to do it. They're going to go... Dortmund are very much about principle. They want 80 million. Not 79.99. We want 80 million. So, look, United don't get bogged down, is what I would say to United. Don't get bogged down. Try it. If you can get them down, if you can get him for 70 plus 10, great. But ultimately, if Dortmund are adamant that they want 80 million, you either pay the 80 million or not. If we repeat the same mistake like last year and try to bully Dortmund into selling him to us, we are done as a club because this shows nothing but our own arrogance. Just learn from your mistake and pay up, says Tejas. Also, I think with Jadon Sancho, is he going to hand a transfer request in? Is he going to go public? No, he didn't do it last year and he wanted to leave. He's not going to do it. So the power is with Dortmund, unfortunately. Swap Matic and Fred for Rice, says Jinish. And I think United just ensure the personal agreements with the player and submit a trial bid, says Ram. Yeah, and that is the principles of a transfer offer anyway. You get the player wanting to come, and then you go further with that. So I think that apparently Bayern Munich are ready to sell Kingsley Coman as well. That's coming from Christian Falk. But United looking like they're trying to play games with Dortmund again, definitely. We don't know at the moment what sort of a fee is being put out for Jadon Sancho, but let's keep an eye on it. Maybe in the next few hours we will find out about that. But definitely interesting. Obviously we've had Christian Falk on in the show before. I know some people again don't want to believe that Christian Falk is credible. But I think around Borussia Dortmund, he definitely is. And he is saying that first negotiations now. Which is interesting because, of course, Fabrizio Romano has said that there hasn't been any negotiations yet with Dortmund. But Christian Falk is now saying that there are. So, and also, remember what we started the show with. Jan Arge Fjortoft saying Manchester United and Sancho deal getting closer. An hour later, you've got Christian Falk saying first negotiations. This time last year, Christian Falk, Jan Arge Fjortoft and Fabrizio Romano were close to this deal. I assume they're close again. Can you wish my friend Ryan a happy Hebrew birthday, please? He still has dreams to go to Old Trafford, says George. Happy birthday to Ryan. And if we repeat the same mistake like last year and try to bully Dortmund, we've got that one as well. 79 million plus £1, says Steve Locke. Didn't Arsenal do that with Suarez a little while ago? Prattwood and gang would have offered 40 million in add-ons, and Prattwood would have counter-offered with the above and Phil Jones and his pink boots. Well, remember this. I forgot what I was going to say now because I can't even remember it myself. We will find out what the bid is. Apparently it was 70 million. 70 million bid. Man United's first official offer for Jadon Sancho was 70 million euros, which is 60. Oh, tell you what, we got it on lockdown on this community. What did I say? I said I guessed it would be around 60 million, and a lot of people in the live comments did. So 70 million euros. Caleb says 70 million euros is good. It's not. 70 million euros is 60. What is it? 62, 63 million. Their price is 80. So. Yeah, there needs to be some add-ons there. But what I would say, and I'll say this right now, that you can always walk away. And I think there are United fans that will say walk away at a certain point. Where I would say walk away is 80 million plus add-ons. And I'm talking 80 million pounds. If it's 80 million euros plus add-ons, and the add-ons are around 10 million, that's fine, because that will mean it'll be around 80 million quid. But if it's 80 million pounds plus 20 million add-ons, that takes it up to £100 million. Forget about it. So it looks like the first bid for Jadon Sancho is €70 million, and that's where we are with that. So let's see how that develops. I'm sure there'll be more developments throughout the morning, so we'll probably end up having a sort of a 1 o'clock show or something like that, where we can give you more of an update. But look, how do you want us to reach in the Champions League? Says DR. I want us to get to the semi-finals next year. I don't understand the hype around Sancho. Grealish is better, although Sancho is more realistic of a purchase. Grealish would not leave, says Bro. It's interesting, isn't it, that this is ridiculously close to the start of the Euros and England's first game, which is a big game against Croatia, and we've got like this. But yeah, 70 million is probably not going to be enough. Let me just see if I can get you any updates, because people will be messaging me. Around 70 million euros, yeah. And Builder saying that first official offer for Jadon Sancho is 69 million euros. Dortmund are looking for 90 million with bonuses. 90 million euros is around 80 million. And then they want the bonuses on the top, which for me is a no. It's a no. Don't want us to pay Dortmund any more than £80 million. But we'll see. We'll see how it develops. Unfortunately, I feel that Dortmund will do Manchester United over, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Obviously, we'll be going live with any big news that happens, so make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Walk away now, says Jay Zeno. Well, I'm going to walk away from this show for now. We'll see what other developments come. Obviously, I think there'll be a Romano update at some point. He will be verifying that news, because he sometimes likes to retweet people like Christian Falk and say that they've done a good job. So I'm sure that there will be an update from Romano to come very soon. But things are progressing, and to be fair, the person who realised that things are progressing was Jan Arge Fjortoft. He did say this morning it's getting closer, and it looks like he's come out and been right about that. So we will speak very soon, I'm sure. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all very soon.